Welcome to Mac Geek Gab, episode 937 for Monday, July 18th, 2022. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Mac Geek Gab, the show where we are here to make sure you learn at least 5 new things. In fact, we're here to make sure we each learn at least 5 new things. We do that by answering your questions, sharing your quick tips, sharing your cool stuff found, sharing some quick tips and cool stuff found of our own, even sometimes some questions of our own, so that we can do all of that. We take all your questions that you send to feedback at macgeekgab.com. We put them all together into the agenda, and then we get together and we learn those 5 new things. Sponsors for this episode include Coda, where at coda.io/MGG you can sign up for free. Kolide, we're at Kolide, KOLIDE.co. You can get device security that fixes all your challenging problems and uses Slack. It's actually amazing. And Helix, at helixsleep.com/MGG. And I am happy to have slept on my Helix mattress again last night. At helixsleep.com/MGG, you can save up to $200 off your mattress and get 2 free pillows. So we'll talk about more. We'll talk about each of those more in depth shortly. For now, back here, after a weekend of fishing, PH fishing, but not looking for your credit card numbers, just enjoying the band Fish. Here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in rainy, wet Fairfield, Connecticut, this is John F. Braun, and I think I heard Dave say feedback at macgeekgab.com.
I think he said feedback at macgeekgab.com, but I don't know, because I'm here in Lee, New Hampshire. It's Pilot Pete. Thanks for having me back, guys. I'm always thrilled to be here with you.
Thanks for being back. Yeah. Oh, it's great to have us all together. We're actually recording on the same day we'll be releasing the episode, which is rare for us.
Yeah.
But it's how it goes. Let's stop meandering. Let's get to Jeremy here. Jeremy shares a nice little quick tip. When in the app switcher, so Command-Tab on your Mac, if you have an app highlighted that has multiple windows open, you can use the arrow keys to drill into the app and then select the specific window you want to bring forward. Very cool. So you Command-Tab, you're holding down the Command key. You know, once you get to the app you want, you hit the down arrow and boom, now you've got all the windows will just show up. You can pick the one you want and boom, that's the one that comes forward. I have no idea.
That's awesome.
I know. He also points out that you can use the backtick key, which is generally the thing below the tilde in the upper left of the keyboard, aka right above the tab key. That will let you go backwards in the app switcher without having to add shift as a third key down. So you can hit Command Tab and go forward and Command backtick to go backwards. I think I knew that second one, but I had forgotten it. Certainly my fingers do not know it. And so I'm going to add both of these to my repertoire and hope that it sticks. So
Control Tab will switch tabs within a given, like if you have multiple tabs open on your browser, Control Tab will switch tabs.
Oh, so not the app switcher, just, what?
Yeah, right?
Oh, and will Control Shift Tab go backwards? It will. Will Control Backtick go backwards? It will not. Okay, right. So Control Tab, to shift in Safari. Yeah, I love
is it
this.
only Safari? I hadn't tried.
I don't know.
I was doing it in Chrome.
Okay. All right, great. Yeah. Okay, so in your it seems to have been standardized by our favorite browser makers. Amazing. I like it. Whew.
Yeah, the thing I found interesting was that he mentioned that sometimes he's battling with his mouse, between the mouse.
So that's a whole, right, that was a completely separate part of his email, which is a question, but since you brought it up, let's bring it up.
Now you got to do it.
And now we have to do it, right. I was going to skip that. So what he points out is that Command-Tab obviously brings up the app switcher. and as he points out, the tab key will, tapping the tab key will jump from app to app. Tapping the back tick will go backwards from app to app. However, if once the app switcher is open, you move the mouse intentionally or otherwise and float it over the app switcher bar that sort of appears in the middle of your screen, now the mouse will take over. And wherever you float the mouse, that's where it will land. And that's the app that will come forward. And so his complaint or his issue is that this seems to be happening to him unintentionally. And my guess is that he is on a laptop which has the trackpad right below the keyboard. I've run into this on my MacBook Air occasionally where I'll hit Command-Tab and then either my hand or something will touch the trackpad and start to mess with the focus of the app switcher. And he was asking if there's a way to avoid that, and there's not. It's just how it's just how the Mac works. You can't. There used to be, and I think actually it may still be there. There's some protections that Apple builds in when you are typing, so that the trackpad becomes slightly less responsive. But when you're in App Switcher, it actually leaves it on. So I don't think there's an answer to that part of it, which is why I didn't include it in the show. But or I wasn't going to include it in the show, and yet here we are. So. Palm rejection. That's it, Brian Monroe. Brian Monroe in the chat room at live.macgeekgab.com calls it palm rejection. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that functions when we're in the app switcher.
Okay. I just thought I'd bring it up because I've never personally run into it because my cursor is probably never in the same area. So.
Well, you're probably never. No, that's not why. It's that you're never touching your mouse at the same time that you're touching. Right. The app switcher. It's that's more likely the reason.
Hands, some of those people out there.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Because you don't. Well, I mean, I guess. I mean, you use a laptop, so just the way your hands orient on your keyboard is different from the way Jeremy's orient on his keyboard. That's all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. But yeah, Pete, you had a tale of.
I do.
I don't want to call it a tale of woe.
No, it really is.
But it sort of is, except it has a good ending.
Well, so far
better than
it could have been.
Better than it could have been ending. Let's go with that.
So about a year ago, my mother-in-law we were taking our daughter to college, and we were out of state, and my mother-in-law fell, and she spent the night on the floor. And when we couldn't get a hold of her by telephone, we sent the police over to her house, whereupon they found her on the floor and transported her to the hospital. And my wife said, well, if you're not going to have your phone in your pocket or one of those little buttons, I've fallen and I can't get up, going to get you an Apple Watch, Mom. So we gave her an Apple Watch, and she pretty quickly took to it, answering the telephone on it, all kinds of different things. And I was surprised to see that my wife had done this. The other night, we had just settled into bed, and my wife got a note on her telephone that said, your mother has fallen and emergency services have been called. So my wife called her mother, and she didn't answer. So she hung up and called back. And this time she did answer on her watch. And she said, yeah, I'm in the garage. I've fallen on the floor and I can't get up. And she's like, well, the ambulance has already been called. She goes, I don't need an ambulance. I just, need you to come help me up. So, well, the ambulance is on the way, Mom. They're going to help you up. And she goes, well, they can't get in because the door is locked. Upon hearing this, but before anything else, I'm already dressed and out the door, headed over there to get the door open because we have keys. We can get in. I called 911 and said, I'm on my way. Told EMTs to, she's alert, she's conscious, and we're on the way, and I'll open the door. I'll be there in 8 to 10 minutes at the most. And so they were standing around when I got there and opened the garage door.
Wow.
She had indeed fallen and was able to break her fall with her nose and her forehead. So it's bad. She's still in the hospital.
Man.
But she's going to recover. Had she not had that watch on, she would have spent another, and we had no reason to call her because we had talked to her earlier that day. It would have been a long time, and possibly hypothermia would have set in on a concrete garage floor. In her late 70s, it would have not ended well at all. So
wow.
This saved her life, and having it notify somebody else made it even more expeditious that EMTs were able to get to her.
Well, and they didn't have to break down her door to do so. Like that, having that conversation with her allowed you to set their expectations.
Right. That she's alert. She's not, she's not completely unconscious. You don't have to bust in, we'll be right there. And, but how do you do that though? Right. So it turns out that my wife had set it up properly, and I didn't even realize this had to be done, but you go into the Watch app on your iPhone.
Yep.
And under emergency SOS, you designate emergency contacts. So not only does it call 911, it sends a text to your emergency contacts that says so-and-so has fallen. Emergency services has been called. So that got us involved right away and allowed us to help expedite the.
Yeah, you didn't have to get a call from the EMTs after they had broken her door down.
Going, we can't get in, or
Sure.
So if you have an Apple Watch and an iPhone, go into Watch Emergency SOS and designate some contacts. I have my daughter and my wife both, because I've got separate people in separate areas as emergency contacts. In the event I fall and need help, then they can get people active. Yeah.
That's really, I got to do that on mine. I had no idea that was even a thing. So I am glad to be able to take a positive lesson from this and share it. And I hope everything works out with her too.
Yeah, so do I. It's like I say, she's still in. She's going to have to go to rehab. She broke her shoulder, her nose, her eye is swollen shut. It's bad. It was really bad. But
I'm sorry, Pete.
Yeah, thank you. She's a tough bird, and she's going to get through it. But she's a miserable bird right now. So
I can imagine. I'd be miserable too. Yeah, that's expected. That's okay. Yeah.
But I mean, when we got there, I don't want to go to the hospital. Just help me up and get me in the house. It's like,
let me tell you what I'm seeing. Right. Yeah.
That's not an option.
Yeah. So. And we're all kind of like that. I mean, many of us are like that. It's like, I don't need to go to the hospital. Yeah. Sometimes you do. Yeah.
And of course, it was a full moon on a Friday night. When I got to the emergency room a little bit later, they were wall-to-wall people.
I bet. Well, coming in on an ambulance gives you a different
front of the line privileges.
Front of the line privileges. You got it. Yeah. I was super happy when it was my gallbladder. Of course, I didn't know that's what it was. But when I finally went to the hospital and realized I can't sit in Lisa's car, I need to lay down, and so the ambulance took me, and we went right to the front of the line, which helped. I think it's probably the difference between me having surgery that day and weeks later, even perhaps, because
I was not smart enough to do that when my gallbladder went a few months ago.
Yeah.
I had rode in the car.
That's not fun. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Pete. Yeah. I really hope she does. She recovers quickly.
With any luck, that'll help save somebody else some heartache and headache in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all going to do this now, man. Yep. Thank you. So again, it is Apple Watch app. You go into SOS.
Emergency SOS.
And
then down, you have to scroll down a good bit, and there's emergency contacts near the bottom, and designate your emergency contacts. And it will only, obviously, it can't send it to a landline. It sends a text message.
Okay, got it. Okay. That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't even know how to transition from that, so it's going to be ham-fisted.
This is not going to be a Casey Kasem with a downbeat song or an upbeat song and a.
I got nothing. I can't do that. So I am just going to say that we are doing another. It will be like I said, a ham-fisted transition. We're doing another Hangout and we'll do it in our Discord room, most likely. That's certainly where we'll start. If Zoom winds up being better, we'll just move to Zoom. But it will be on Sunday, July 31st at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We are always looking for the best time for these things. But for the next one, this is when we'll do it. So it'll be Sunday, July 31st at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And we will be talking about all things Synology. Bring your questions. This is an interactive Hangout. This is a conversation. It's not a presentation. So bring your questions. Everybody can have their camera and their mic live if you want to, or you can be a fly on the wall and just absorb. There's nothing wrong with that, but feel free to communicate and have some fun with us. We'll be talking about all things Synology. disk stations will be let's say disk stations and routers. We generally go an hour on these Hangouts, and I say generally, having only done one of them, but we've carved out an hour for it. So we'll have some things to talk about if nobody brings any questions in, but I have a feeling we won't need to use our lists because I have a feeling everybody's questions will be good. Yeah. So you find that at macgeekgab.com/discord is how you can join our Discord chat. And I encourage you to join that. We've got, I think, over 500 people in there now, and it's like the conversations are fantastic.
Ooh, I have a question.
Yes,
I
Pete.
was so bummed that I missed the Plex Hangout.
Yes.
Is it recorded? Is it anywhere? Or is it
I did
off
not.
to the ether?
Yeah, it's off to the ether. I did not record the Plex Hangout for two reasons. Number one, Discord does not have an inbuilt functionality to do so. Zoom does, and so I could have recorded it if we had used Zoom. I also, you and me and John, we're all used to having our stuff recorded for posterity forever on the internet.
Fair enough, yeah.
I know that not everyone is, and so I didn't want to add to anyone's discomfort and discourage anyone from participating because they didn't want to be part of some, permanent thing on the internet. So we did not record it. Now, somebody could have recorded it. It is a thing that happened. But we're family here. I don't think anyone did. Yeah. So I think I'm going to keep it that way for the next one on Synology, and we can have that conversation during it too. And these are meant to be Hangouts, not publications, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I
was bummed that I missed the Plex. Oh my God.
I know. So yes, I know. Yep. We can do another Plex one. Like there's nothing stopping us from doing that. So come to Discord, request it, join the conversation there and let's have some fun. So
doing it now.
Great. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Anything on any quick tips from you, John, before we move on to maybe some cool stuff found here for a little bit?
No.
All right. Perfect. I'm going to take a sip of my tea anyway, though, even though I didn't really have time to.
Yeah. Well,
We're just going to ham fist this thing all the way through. So we will move on to Greg, who has a great little tip from last show. He said Craig warned us about the YouTube subscription and to buy it directly on the web and not in the app via Apple's in-app purchase to save some money. He says, but speaking of YouTube and not having to watch commercials, there's another extension called Vinegar Tube Cleaner, which is awesome if you watch YouTube in Safari, because it's a Safari extension that replaces the YouTube player with a minimal HTML video tag. It removes ads, restores pictures in picture, and keeps videos playing in the background. So we will put that on the cool stuff found list, and you can find that in the show notes at macgeekgab.com. So thank you for that, Greg. Good stuff.
We have to play with that.
I know. Yeah, that's one of those that, we talk about a lot of these things, but that was one where it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go put this in right now. So Doug told us about another thing called RayCast, where at raycast.com, it is an enhanced spotlight replacement, if you will. And he says almost a command line replacement. He says he has RayCast installed and has it mapped to command space. He says you can set aliases for specific files. It's a launcher. It lets you share common links. I'm really not. It's a productivity enhancement. It's how they advertise this. I'm still not. So I think Doug's comment that it starts as a spotlight replacement is probably how most of us would start to use it, and then you can start to use things like the quick links in there, floating notes in there. You can link shortcuts to it. So it's one of these things that it's got a calculator in it. It does have a clipboard history in it. So there you go. You've got little text snippets in it. So it's one of these, it's a productivity utility that does lots of different things. But I think the entrance point of treating it as a spotlight enhancement or an enhanced spotlight replacement might be the way to start. And it is available, obviously, for Mac. I saw you can install it with Homebrew if you want, but it's there at raycast.com. So this is one of those things. I have a feeling 6 months from now, one or more of the three of us is going to be like, wait, holy cow. Do you know what this thing can do? They aren't doing a great job of selling us on it because I think it does so many things. The developers of it know how they use it. And so they're not saying use it for this one thing and then let the halo effect sort of bring you everywhere. But I'm curious about this one. So if anybody's using Raycast out there, let us know. Feedback at macgeekgab.com. I'd love to hear about it because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those things that, kind of like Keyboard Maestro, you just, once you start in with it, it's like, whoa, you can't take this away from me. So I don't know.
Hazel's been that way for me.
Hazel's another. Yes, exactly.
All of a sudden you find it's doing all kinds of stuff for you.
Right. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah, I'm with you. At first, when I looked at it, I'm like, well, Spotlight already does this. But then as you look further, they have things like window management, clipboard history, snippets, which is stuff that Spotlight does not do.
Right.
Last I checked.
Right.
So it's like Spotlight Plus, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm curious to see which of the three of us which of our community, not just the three of us, which of any of us, winds up coming back in a couple of weeks or a couple of months and says, okay, so Raycast has changed my life and here's how, so thank you for the heads up on this, Doug. I know it has changed your life. He says, you can set aliases for specific files and folders as well as apps. It also does things like text expansion, runs user-defined scripts. There are commands that let you move and resize your windows quickly from the keyboard as well. Oh, okay. He says, for instance, command space left half will move the active window to the left half of the screen. He says, I'm new to it, and I like it so far. I was kind of hoping that one of your team knew it, and I'd learn some tips. Yeah, okay, so here we are. Yep, Doug sees the power. I like it. Cool. Thanks for that. I had never heard of that before. It's clearly been around for a while. So very cool. More on that, or am I moving to Meshnet from NordVPN? Yeah. NordVPN adds this thing called Meshnet Jim shares with us. And he says it's interesting. It looks like what they've done is added Tailscale type functionality to this. And my guess is they're using WireGuard at the core, just like Tailscale is. The idea behind Meshnet, the way Nord describes it, is that you can think of your Meshnet as a decentralized or do-it-yourself virtual private network that you create using NordVPN, and then private devices of NordVPN users you trust. So instead of connecting to a server managed and configured by Nord, you can form encrypted peer-to-peer connections, essentially, with devices that you or your friends own. I didn't use NordVPN this weekend, but I mentioned I was away this weekend, and I have Tailscale installed on all of my on the devices that matter. I have it installed on the Macs that I use and my disk stations. And what's amazing about Tailscale is I didn't have to connect to any kind of VPN or anything. I just make sure Tailscale's running on my laptop. And from the terminal, I wanted to log into my Synology disk station to check something. And so I just typed SSH disk station, and boom, I was connected to my Synology disk station, which is the same command I would run when I was at home, except I wasn't at home. I was in a hotel room down in, Westfield, Mass or something. And it just works. It's like it's a distributed LAN, if you will. And it's amazing how simple and smooth it is. And it's WireGuard at the core that does this. And then Tailscale sort of built their implementation on top of it. They have a free version, which is all I was using for Tailscale. And it works with your own devices. If you want to use other people's devices. Like if John, you and I wanted to have if I wanted to invite you into this, then we would pay Tailscale. Or it sounds like we would pay NordVPN and use their implementation that they're calling Meshnet. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Is it a web interface, or is it working like within your Finder now? You've got your Synology in the left bar of your Finder, like you're at home.
I could do it that way. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I don't. So it is not a web interface. It is a network level interface.
Okay.
I would not recommend trying to mount a network volume remotely because it's just going to be super slow and super frustrating. So I wouldn't do that, but you could. I've tried it before, and it's just like, oh yeah, man, it's like super slow.
Because when I need files that are only on my Synology from the road,
yes,
and I just log in to my Synology, and do the web interface for them.
And that's going to be the most efficient way to do that, especially on crappy hotel Wi-Fi or whatever, right? But yes, you could. It is a network layer interface, so it just made it so that I was on this sort of virtual LAN, if you will. Okay. And I know that we have VLANs, and that's different. but it's essentially a distributed LAN, if you will, right? Where it just works. So yeah, that's I mean, we're talking about, or this started because NordVPN added it, but I'll also put Tailscale in there since we've talked so much about Tailscale too. But yeah, Tailscale, it's amazing. It just works. And I can leave it running all the time. It doesn't negatively impact anything. It's just there. Yeah. Yeah. And then, for example, if you want to tunnel out via your home network, I can choose, while I was away, I said, okay, use my disk station as my exit node. And now all my traffic ran through my disk station, so it was as though I was connecting to other places from home. But you don't have to do that. You can just be on whatever network you're on, and then also have this access to your devices, which is it's kind of like magic, which I really like. I know. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Fun stuff. I go ahead, John.
No, that was me.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that was you, Pete. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked like I was trying to. Speaking of awkward transitions,
have you messed with Tailscale yet, John?
No.
Okay. I think you would like it. I think it would be it's pretty cool how things just work. In fact, I would set it up before you go away to MaxTalk this coming weekend. And then that way you've got Tailscale and you can just access I would put it on your disk station, and I would put it on your Mac Mini so that you've got it on two devices that are just on your network. And if you need to connect to either one of them for SSH or for remote access, it's just, boom, it's right there. Easy peasy. Doesn't matter where you are.
I got a few days before I'm leaving, but I typically, when I do need to access my network remotely, I either use OpenVPN or Synology's, what's it called?
Their VPN server. Yeah.
Or their DDNS. Lets me get into my network. So if I have a need to get into my network, the typical use, I think, for most people, especially traveling, is, hey, I want to watch my movies, and they're on my Synology. So how do I do that?
Well, you wouldn't need a VPN for that, right? You can just use Plex or or Video Station, and that will just connect without a VPN. But that's what I'm saying. The nice part about Tailscale is it keeps you from having to connect to a VPN and change your network config just to access a device. With Tailscale, you just access the device as though you were at home. It doesn't matter. That's the beauty. It's always there, and it stays out of the way until you just go to access the device. And it's like, oh yeah, it's right here. But just like it always is. Doesn't matter where you are. It's always right there. It's cool. It's really a cool thing. Yeah. All right. One last cool stuff that I found this week is this new, speaking of travel, it's from Scosche, and it is the PowerVolt Traveler 30. It is a 30-watt USB-C power delivery outlet, either able to plug into a AC outlet, like a US two-prong AC outlet, or you flip open the other side of it and you can plug it in to a 12-volt DC car outlet, which we used to call cigarette lighter outlets, but I don't know if anybody calls them that anymore. Kids, you can ask your parents about those things.
But only if you're over 18.
Right. I know 21 here in New Hampshire.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Do cars even offer that anymore, or is it all USB? Every now and then I shop for a new car, and
there's
one thing I look
12-volt
for
power outlets
is
in cars for sure.
USB. So I don't think so. Newer cars don't have this.
They have both. The
Listen
new
to what
cars
I'm
have
saying.
both.
100% of cars have this.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah. And the nice part is because it's 12-volt DC, you can get 30 watts of USB-C power delivery out of it, as opposed to the USB ports in a car, which will only give you 5 watts in most cases. So it works great. Yep. Yeah. Cars, all cars have them. They don't have the cigarette lighters that used to go into them. They're just power outlets.
Yes.
Yep. But,
Yeah, I got one. I was digging around my junk drawer and found my one, but yeah.
You have I guess you could still buy a cigarette lighter like insert for your 12-volt outlet. Like I don't see why it would be different.
Yeah, well, I don't do that in the car, so.
Right.
Most of the US made trucks and actually some of the Japanese ones too in the truck level also have the inverters on there too. So you can do your 120 volt AC.
Yes.
More and more I'm seeing 120 volt AC options in automobiles.
In automobiles, for sure. Yeah. Yep. I don't disagree. I've seen it in several rental cars recently. I don't have a car with. Does your truck have it, Pete?
It does.
Yeah. I figured,
In fact, I've got two. I've got one under the back seat and one right in the dashboard.
Amazing.
120 volt AC outlet.
That's great. Yeah. Makes a difference. Yep.
It's nice.
All right. We've got a bunch of questions and a tip. Actually, many tips to talk about. And we have 3 sponsors to talk about next, if that's okay with you, Mr. Braun.
Sounds great.
You know what's great? Being able to work from anywhere. We talk about it on the show all the time. I just need my laptop and decent Wi-Fi, maybe an extra screen. You know what's not so great? Being spread out across the country and trying to keep the team on the same page and focused on tasks. And that's why we love Coda. With teams working all across the country, if your best work is spread out across documents and spreadsheets and a stack of workflow tools you have to jump in and out of all day, you need Coda, the dock that brings it all together. Coda is endlessly customizable and connected. There are templates for anything and everything. In fact, we're working on one for questions here from Geek Gab. Product roadmap, remote onboarding, goal tracker, meeting notes, you name it, Coda has it. Coda adapts to growing teams and changing strategies. It can help change how you view information depending on what you need to do with it. And perhaps most importantly, Coda seamlessly integrates with all the tools you need. Everything in Coda is synced. Make an update in a table. It automatically shows up everywhere. No more trying to rely on copy and paste to keep linchpin projects current. Your team can operate on the same information and collaborate the way we all want to, quickly and efficiently. With Coda, you can solve for just about anything. And right now, you can get started having your team all working together on the same page for free. Head over to coda.io/MGG. That's CODA.io to get started for free. Coda.io/MGG. And our thanks to Coda for sponsoring this episode. You know, there were some silver linings to being locked down at home, and one of them I started to realize now that I've been traveling again, and that's how much I love my Helix mattress at home, because I don't have one of those when I travel. Helix Sleep has a quiz that takes just 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. That's why my mattress is perfect for me, because Lisa and we went through and we did the quiz. Everybody's unique, and Helix knows that, so they have several different mattress models to choose from. Soft, medium, and firm mattresses. Mattresses great for cooling you down if you sleep hot, and even a Helix Plus mattress for plus-size folks. When we took the quiz, we were matched with the Midnight mattress. It's fantastic. It really is, and I took it for granted until I started having to sleep in other mattresses, and man, never again will I take that for granted. So if you're looking for a mattress, you take the quiz, you order the mattress that you're matched to, and the mattress comes right to your door, shipped for free. You don't ever need to go to a mattress store Again, just go to helixsleep.com/MGG. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/MGG. Our thanks to Helix Sleep for sponsoring this episode. Next up is Kolide at KOLIDE.com/MGG. Traditional endpoint security tools can make your workplace feel like a surveillance state, turning users and the IT team into adversaries and ultimately drive your employees to work on unsecured personal devices. It doesn't have to be this way. Kolide is a device security solution built around honest security. Their philosophy is that employees aren't your biggest security risk. They are your biggest allies. And your relationship with your employees should be based on transparency and informed consent. Kolide works by notifying your employees of security issues via Slack and giving them step-by-step instructions on how to resolve them themselves. For IT and security teams, Kolide provides the right level of visibility for Mac, Windows, and Linux devices, and it can answer questions about your fleet security that traditional MDMs simply can't. You can meet your security goals without compromising your values. Visit kolide.com/MGG to find out how. If you do follow that link, they'll hook you up with a goodie bag just for activating a free trial. That's KOLIDE.com/MGG. And our thanks to Kolide for sponsoring this episode. All right. Kenny kind of beat me to the punch on this. Actually, I was going to cue something like this up. Kenny says, my son Andrew is getting married in August in Italy. My wife and I will be over there for a week. We have Apple AirTags on our home and car keys, and they work great. Like you, I'm a convert from Tile. Tile worked fine. Apple AirTags works way better. So I'm thinking of ordering another 4-pack for our luggage. Would you suggest sticking the AirTags inside the luggage somewhere or putting them on a loop and hanging it off the handle? The two issues are security. Are we better off having a nefarious scumbag knowing there is an AirTag or not? Second, if we opt to put it inside the luggage, would that impede the ability of the AirTags to connect to local iPhones, etc.? Thanks for your thoughts. Yeah, like I said, I was going to put this in the show anyway because I've recently been through an experience with AirTags. I have always put a Tile in my luggage, and I switched that to an AirTag just like Kenny. We have found that putting them inside luggage, literally in the middle of the bag, I wind up using, when I check a bag, I have now started using these hard shell bags that are kind of like the away style bag, and the easiest place to put an AirTag in the middle or in the bag is in like the zipper compartment, which happens to now sit right literally in the middle of the bag. And it has not been a problem at all for scanning. When we went to Greece recently, we all put them in our checked bags, and there's so much peace of mind that comes from when the plane lands. You turn on your phone, you look Find My, and boom, now you can see that your bag has landed with you or that it has not. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and then most recently, my daughter went to Canada for a couple of weeks, and on her way back, she connected through Montreal. Now, this is a weird thing that I don't quite understand, and it's somewhat tangential. In fact, it's 100% tangential. But evidently, coming back to the U.S., she flew from Calgary to Montreal to Boston. She went through U.S. Immigration and Customs in Montreal, which just seems weird to me because, you're not on U.S. soil yet, but that's how it does it. Yeah. And her bag was delayed getting off of her first flight. And it was so delayed that she realized she was likely going to miss her flight if she waited for it. So she talked to the custom agent and said, "Hey, look, I'm willing to leave my bag and go." And they said, "Great." And they gave her whatever pass she needed to be able to get on the plane without having gone through customs with her bag. And they said, "But your bag might still make it." Like, okay, fine. So she gets on the plane. She flies to Boston. She goes up to, as soon as she gets to Boston, she goes to the baggage desk and says, "Hey, I don't think I think my bag was left in Montreal. I need to give you my address so that you can bring it to my house once it gets here to Boston. And they said, yeah, go wait until the baggage carousel. It might have made it. So go wait until the baggage carousel has finished doing all of its stuff and then come back and get in line and we can fill it out. And she started to walk away. And I said, wait, check Find My. And she looked, and in Find My, it showed that 20 minutes prior, her bag was found, was located in Montreal. And so I said, show them that. And she did. And they were like, oh, okay, we can process your thing right now. By the time we finished processing that thing, the line was 30 minutes long. And there was no way her bag was going to magically appear on that luggage rack if she had waited. So knowing where it was, and they even told her, they said, great, you'll get text messages as your bag sort of makes its journey from Montreal to Boston to your house. But your AirTag is going to tell you a lot more than our system will. And so they said, really what you should do is just keep checking that. And sure enough, yeah, it was great. It's never great to lose luggage or be forced to leave it behind in her case. But knowing where it is huge. A friend of mine, speaking of Italy, I think it was Venice, where she knew that her luggage was still in the baggage warehouses at the airport, only because of her AirTag. And the airline was not going to look for her bag anymore. They were just going to declare it lost. She's like, no, it's here. And they walked through huge, Raiders of the Lost Ark style cavernous warehouses until finally she's like, wait, I'm seeing it. And I think it's on the other side of this locked door. And they opened this door and it was this tiny little room off of the warehouse. And sure enough, there was her bag. It's like, yep.
That's awesome.
She never would have seen it if it weren't for the AirTag. So absolutely, the best $29 you can spend is to put an AirTag in your luggage. And I know it's easy to just take the AirTag that you use for your keys or whatever and say that you're going to go put that in your luggage. But I can tell you when you're packing for a trip and, the mayhem of all of that, especially if you're not traveling regularly, you will often forget to put that thing in your luggage. It has happened to me. It's happened to people in my family, and we are geeks. So now we just have AirTags that live in our suitcases, and it's a fantastic investment. So, yeah.
I've got one on my keys, my AirPod case, my backpack for work. Here's one. Yeah, here's one. I have glued one to my drone.
Oh, that's super smart, Pete.
Yeah. So if it ever goes down,
you've got a better chance of finding it.
I got a better shot of finding it. I'll know roughly where it went down, and I can go find it with my phone. So, yeah.
Now, perhaps a relevant tangent. Okay.
Of course.
Here.
Yeah. Hey, you entertain me on my relevant tangent. It's only fair.
Right on.
But the thing that I've seen, and actually we had an article come up in our local Patch, which is a local news service. The incidence of people finding AirTags put on something of theirs, like their car, I think that's the most common one here. But we've had a couple of reports in the area where somebody all of a sudden gets an AirTag piggybacking on their car or whatever. The iPhone, for the most part, I think, or Find My ecosystem will warn you of this. It's like, hey, I see an AirTag and it's not yours. So are you okay with that?
Yeah.
But I think Apple is doing the best that they can to prevent this.
Yeah.
We discussed it briefly in pre-show, but last night my daughter went to work and borrowed my truck because her kid brother took her car, and boy, was that an issue. Anyway, she went to work. She came home last night and goes, Dad, do you have an AirTag on your keys? Yes, I do. She goes, oh, good. Because it didn't warn me on the way to work that I had an AirTag following me, but it warned me as I pulled in the driveway, and I thought, oh, that's nice. Now that I'm at home, I get the warning. So, but at least it does warn you. Yeah, hey, there's an AirTag here that's not yours, and it's transmitting. So,
yeah. Yes. I'm glad Apple added that functionality pretty quickly after AirTags became a thing. Yeah. I did want to address Kenny's question about where to put them. Like I said, in the middle of luggage has not been an issue. I have, I think it was Spec that sent me a bunch of AirTag capable luggage tags, like an external luggage tag that you could put an AirTag into. I'm hesitant to do that only because I use, dangling luggage tags on some of my suitcases. And a few times I've seen them get stuck and caught in the, baggage claim machines, if you'll call it that, and rip it off or whatever. And I don't care when that happens. In fact, I've watched it rip them off before. I just don't want my AirTag to get ripped off, either intentionally or unintentionally. and so, yeah, I just leave it inside the bag, and it hasn't been an issue, like I said, for being able to, quote unquote, see it. Yeah.
No, I'm with you in that I don't want to tempt people to steal it because, I have those enclosures as well. And it's like, should I put it on the handle of my suitcase? Well, then people will see it there and they're like, hey, let me steal it.
Well, stealing an AirTag wouldn't make any sense. It would more because you would know where it was. Like you can't, they couldn't assign the AirTag to themselves. It would be more that if they were going to steal your bag, they could cut it off of there. But I'm not even worried about that as much as I am just it getting pulled off because, luggage is tossed around.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
amazed at some of the damage that my bags have gone through
Same.
It's like, how did that handle get ripped off? It was tucked away, but okay.
Yeah. It's funny. I have cases for my drums and my cymbals, and people always often, if they're going to offer to help me like move my drums from like the stage to the car or the car to the stage, they're like, is it okay if these like bang against each other? And all I tell them is, yeah, I've checked these as luggage before, or I've shipped them as UPS before. So yeah, I trust these cases because you have to. Yeah. So
do either of you know? I don't think you can. If an AirTag's been assigned, I don't think you can steal it and disable it by pulling the battery and trying to put it back together.
I was thinking the same thing, my friend.
Okay. Yeah.
No, because it's tied to the serial number of the AirTag. It'll check in with Apple's system, and that's the end of that. Yeah.
Yeah, until you release it.
But you can't reset it?
No. It's the whole point. Like,
okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought there was
you could pull the battery.
With Pete's thought, I thought there was a way to reset it. Yeah, like by removing the battery.
Well, if you remove the battery, then it's not going to function anymore.
Right.
But
okay, but it'll still be associated with your account.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah. Fun stuff. I highly recommend it. Go, I know there were some deals on it for Amazon Prime Day, which has now passed, but $99 for a 4-pack of AirTags. And then that's what I did for the family. And it was just like, all right, here's everyone for your suitcase. And I think one of the family members here was like, oh, I'm thinking actually of putting it in my backpack. I'm like, that goes in your suitcase. We'll buy you another one for your backpack.
Didn't you find your bag in the middle of the airplane in the luggage hold once, Dave?
I have.
Or someone who may have.
No. Bluetooth is legal to use on airplanes, Pete.
This is true. Yes, it is.
I can admit to this.
Fair enough.
I did. I don't think I've ever found it with an AirTag, though. I've found it many times with Tile. But what I would do is if I was bored on the flight, which often happens because, they don't let me fly. So what else am I going to do? I would just walk up and down the aisles of the plane with my phone out and often find my bag and be like, okay, I know it's on the plane with me. I've tried it a couple of times with my AirTags, and I don't think I've successfully found it, Pete, but
okay.
Maybe. Okay. I don't know. I don't sweat it anymore. We all have to learn how to live with ourselves, right? And I am someone who can very easily get myself very anxious about lots of different things. Once that plane has taken off, it does not matter where my bag is, right? It only like there's nothing I'm going to do about it. Even if I have Wi-Fi on the plane, like what am I going to do?
I thought you were just doing it to see, hey,
no.
see it, but
Yeah. Like I said, I do it sometimes. Just like I said, if I'm bored, but that is not helpful information for me in those moments.
For what it's worth, even when you're driving, sometimes you get bored.
Yeah. I'm sure that does happen.
That's what they say aviation is anyway. 99% boredom, 1% sheer terror.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Don't. Well, you don't fly passengers, so I don't need to give you this. That's true. If you're flying passengers, there's an issue. Yeah,
not
right.
intentionally. Every now and then I get an animal handler or something.
Sure. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Like my people ask me what is I've flown two really interesting animals. One was a chimpanzee,
okay,
Detroit Zoo, and the other was a Sumatran tiger.
Wow.
Samson, the Sumatran tiger. He was a beautiful cat too.
Huh.
But he was much more calm and relaxed than the chimpanzee was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Fascinating. Yeah. That's amazing.
Neat stuff like that.
If you want to hear more stories about Pete and his air adventures, the podcast So There I Was .us. So There I Was.us is Pete's new show. So yeah, go check it out.
We're having fun with it. Next show is going to be 10. We try to release them on Thursdays. Now that I'm going back to work after some medical time off, it's getting tighter and more difficult to record. But
sure. Yeah.
Next. Last show was episode 9. Yeehaw! I screwed it up. Yeehaw! Pester's dead. So this guy jumped out of an F-14. His call sign was Pester, and you got to hear why. They thought he didn't make it, and when they found out he had, the joke in the squadron was, "Yeehaw! Pester's dead."
Yikes. Well, see, this is what happens with 99% boredom, 1% sheer terror.
Right.
You get interesting stories.
And some macabre sense of humor. So
sort of has to go with the... Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah.
It's what we do. But we're having fun with it. We really are. So we hope you'll join us at So There I Was.us.
You want to take us to Brian, Mr. Braun?
The last thing I want to do is just mention, because I've had experience with this, is... a nice alternative to the AirTag is the Chipolo. They offer tags, location tags, like a lot of other companies, but they are compatible with Find My. Kind of. They don't support the ultra-wideband location thing, but they will support the location thing.
My issue with the Chipolo stuff, because I have one of these, is that it was... more expensive than an AirTag and less functional. So
yes, I agree. It's less functional.
Yeah,
I don't know. For certain, you may want to look at it.
What's the benefit? I would love to love these people, but I don't understand why you would buy this instead of an AirTag.
When I bought mine, and I think I got, like Apple, they offer a 4-pack. I got a 4-pack, but the thing is I got a deal through whatever coupon code or something like that, so it actually cost me less. But no, I agree with you. It offers less functionality.
Yeah.
But it is part of the Find My network.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
they offer different form factors, which is kind of nice, and pretty colors, where Apple's, you don't get pretty colors.
Sure. Yeah, fair. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so you can buy a... they have like a little card thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But even still, that's two cards and one little like round one, and it's $83. Yeah, I mean, sure.
The benefit here, and I'm looking at their page right now, here's the benefit. When it beeps, it's 120 decibels. You will not be able to find it.
All right.
So it's louder.
There you go. Okay.
So if you want one that screams at you, then
sure,
maybe this is a better choice. But
sure,
just thought I'd mention it because I like it. I still use AirTag as my primary locator, but I figured I'd check it out and
sure,
does what it says.
So that's my feature request for Apple is the credit card size AirTag. So it looks like Chipolo does that.
Chipolo fills that need. Yeah, there you go.
Kyle does that. Chipolo. Because man, that's a nice feature to have.
Yep. But then, now, moving along on to Brian. So we got some good feedback here. So Brian says, on Mac Geek Gab 936, you talked about replacing your Intel machine with an M1. I've been using an M1 Air from February 2021. Our chorus has been meeting on Zoom, and I have been using my Behringer XR18 mixer to serve my audio and our learning tracks into Zoom. I also have been multi-track recording with our X32, usually 19 or 20 tracks. Wow, this sounds like he's a pro here. As well as mastering them after. I've had no problem with it throttling down or overheating. It is definitely a go with the M1 for your production.
Nice. That's good to hear.
So it's good to hear. The thing is, in my mind, because not that it's all about me, Dave, but it is. No. But the Air has, I remember, especially years back when you would come down and we go to the show and stuff like that, you had an Air and the fans on that thing would spin up and it was just like, and I think it also had a relatively wimpy processor, but the M1 and the M2 changes all that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there is no fan in it anymore, which is great.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's, so excellent feedback. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. I know. Yeah, I just need to decide what I want for the studio here. And listener Craig shares an interpretation that might put the pause button on for me a little bit. He says, I was carefully listening to a recent podcast with Ross Young, who is a notable display analyst. Ross has a very good track record and is not a professional leaker. While stitching together several of the things that he said, especially when talking about larger screens being developed for Apple, and a comment about being perfect for an all-in-one, and almost a throwaway comment he made about current branding now embracing studio naming, I believe we will see a large screen iMac with M whatever Pro or M whatever Max configurations sometime on a timeline of 1 to 3 years that will be called the iMac Studio. Pensacola Craig asks that we remember him fondly and that we heard it here first. So he might be right about that. The idea of an iMac Studio, that's interesting. Huh.
Right. Yeah. When they beefed up the iMac a few years ago.
The iMac Pro, yeah.
That was a screaming machine and was very close to the Mac Pro.
Yes. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I think he's right on the timeline. If it's going to come out, it's not going to be, the fall.
Not September.
No, I don't. Well, they want to let the Mac Studio sort of settle into the market before they put something right next to it in terms of competition. Like, do you want the Mac Studio on the display? Do you want an all-in-one? Because I would go for the all-in-one here in the studio because I would need them. If I bought a Mac Studio, I'd need to buy a display, and I need to buy an expensive one because I'm really used to Apple's 5K screens. So, yeah. Fun stuff. Thank you, Pensacola Craig. I like this idea. The iMac Studio. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When can we order?
Well, yeah. Right. Yeah, that's right. Sign me up. Take my money.
Pre-order now?
Yeah. When will it be on refurb? Yeah. Anyway, you want to take us to Stefan, John?
Will do. Time and time again, I encounter the following issue. I get a notification that an update for an app from the Mac App Store is available. But when I open its page and press the update button, installation gets stuck. The update button is disabled and a rotating cogwheel displays, but that's it. In this situation, I turn to Clean My Mac. In its Updaters section, it displays a list of apps where an update is available. I select the app in question and press Update. Clean My Mac will ask for my Apple ID, then install the update without failure. I have no idea what Clean My Mac does better than Apple's own update mechanism, but so far it has worked every time. And I think I know what they're doing, Dave, especially with this breadcrumb of asking for your Apple ID. When I've run into this issue, and I've run into it both on my Mac and on my iOS device, sometimes what works, and at least on the Mac side, is go to App Store, Account, Purchases, and then there's going to be all the apps that you have, and then there's a little ... in a circle. Choose the delete option, and then reinstalling the app will work. So I guess that's what they're doing and why they ask for your Apple ID. On my iPhone, when something doesn't update, I just delete the app and re-download it, and that usually does it. But I don't know if you guys have run into this, but every now and then I do.
Yeah, I have for sure. I've run into this. Yeah, I've been looking at Clean My Mac's site here, and it talks about how it can reset applications when an app misbehaves. You can easily reset it right in the uninstaller. It's a proven method to fix freeze-ups and synchronization issues. Resetting an app brings it back to its initial state, and most importantly, never affects your user-created data. Huh. I didn't even know this was a feature in there. Wow. Nice find, Mr. Braun. Yeah.
That's an amazing app, huh?
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Huh.
That thing has saved me terabytes of space over the years, too. No doubt.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Fun stuff. Cool. All right. More on that, or is it time to talk to listener John?
Sure.
All right. Listener John. Good stuff, John. Yeah, thanks, man. Wow. Now I want to go and mess with Clean My Mac. Listener John says,
Sorry.
We were talking in episode 936 about how another listener wanted to sync their many of their folders amongst their Macs, including the downloads. And listener John says, if you go on iOS and enable downloads to iCloud, then you will have a download folder in iCloud, and you can point your Mac to download to that folder too, and that will sync all of your downloads via iCloud and not have to use any third-party apps. Interesting. So you'd have to enable this first on your phone and set it to download to iCloud Drive, and then from there, you're good to go. That's interesting. Huh. Never thought of it that way. I love this stuff. It's great. Interesting. Cool. Thanks for that, listener John. Good stuff.
All right. Now, Dave, riddle
Yes.
me this.
I'm riddling.
I think I have maybe a geek
With
challenge.
red and white and black all over or something.
But I wasn't able to get an answer to this question. So the other day I was I wanted to enter a note in Notes, which, as most of you know, is the app that you can run both on your Mac and your iOS devices, and it syncs to the cloud, and it lets you share notes. And it's like, that's nice. I typically use it. I mean, I used to use stickies. You guys remember that? But
Yeah.
But I use Notes to kind of store reminders or maybe sometimes temporary passwords because it crosses all my devices. So that's useful. So the other day on my Mac, I had a need to store some data. And so I opened Notes, and the new note icon was gray. I'm like, huh?
What?
Yeah.
It was gray. It wouldn't let me create a new note. And I'm like, well, that's rude.
Right?
So how many notes do you have?
Well, here's the thing. So number one, how do you find out how many notes you have? And I haven't found an easy way to do that. So
I have one.
So I counted my notes, Dave, and
Well, I have an easy way to do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the view menu and choose, for you, probably show note count.
There you go.
Open up Notes, choose show note count, and
show note. I do not see it.
okay. So the first.
Hide note count. Oh, okay.
There you
Oh
go.
no, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
So I had
I'm
it
guessing
disabled.
you have more than me. I
I
have
had it
91.
disabled on my
Sure.
MacBook, but it's enabled on my
On this machine. Sure.
on this machine. Yeah, 296. That could be the problem. But the thing is, I couldn't get a clear answer, and I searched far and wide as to what criteria is used to limit your notes. Some people suggest that, maybe it has to do with how much iCloud space you have or how much free space you have on your machine. But I couldn't get a clear answer. So,
Because I don't
if
think
anybody knows...
I don't think 296 is the. In fact, I'm certain that 296 is not the number. I have more notes than that. So, But are you out of iCloud storage?
No.
Okay.
And both on my Mac has several gigabytes free, not as much as I'd want. I still got to figure that out. But no, my iCloud, I'm on the I think the 200 plan.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Looking right now, I think I got 63 gigabytes free.
Okay.
So.
And was this the case when you couldn't create a new note on one Mac? Was the other Mac acting the same way?
I did not research that.
Okay. So that would be the thing to check another Mac or another device of any kind, right? Your iPhone, another Mac, because that would help you narrow down where that problem is. Because, if there is a maximum number of notes, it's not 296.
Right.
Yeah. I would think 4032 or some number like that. But
but even then,
that's a lot. That's not a lot, I guess.
It's not a lot. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Looking at discussions.apple.com, nothing.
No. Yeah,
Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
Can you create a new one now? Did the problem magically go away?
Well, I deleted one, and then I could add a new one. So,
and then after you added a new one, could you add a second new one?
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, because that would be the way to test to see are you somehow limited to 296 notes? Yeah. Interesting.
The engineers at Apple decided that John F. Braun needed no more than 296.
That's right. They saw how you were using notes and decided, no, this isn't going to work.
I mean, I did find articles talking about restrictions on number of attachments and stuff like that. But no, it just surprised me because it's why is this icon broken? Why can't I create a new note? So, if anybody knows,
I don't think you're at. Yeah, there you go.
At MacGeekGab.com.
Feedback at MacGeekGab.com.
Feedback at geekgab.com. Say that 3 times fast.
Easy for you to say. I've been saying it for 17 years, Pete, and it rolls off the tongue now unless I stop to think about how to enunciate those words, and then it's like I hit a brick wall.
Well, that's how I started with feedback. So
right. Yeah, thanks for that. We still have people sending to that.
Good. Glad to do it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Really like to have to create that address. It's really nice. Yeah, that's good.
All right, let's go to James, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
We shall.
Yeah, this is a bit of a head scratcher, at least for me, but maybe not for you. I have an N1 Mac Mini with several external USB disks attached to an OWC dock. Several times a week, I will get a disk disconnected message. So far, the disks have automatically reconnected. I frequently run disk first aid, and so far, no problems have been detected. If I have everything connected to a UPS, and there have been no errors logged by it, can you give me some guidance? I'll try, or we'll try. First off, the first question I would have is the drive that disconnects consistent or random? So that would be step one. It could still be a power issue. I don't think so with a UPS, but maybe it still is. But try a different power cord or adapter. I'm not sure what type of drive that you have. But that's another thing. It could be a power issue, but I think not. Another thing is look at system preferences, battery, oddly enough, power adapter, and make sure put hard disks to sleep when possible is off.
And on his Mac Mini, that would be system preferences, energy saver.
Right.
Power adapter, because you were. I'm assuming you were on your laptop when you looked at this. Yeah. Because with a desktop Mac, it's called energy saver.
Right. Energy saver.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, power. So put hard disk to sleep, and on all my machines, it's off. Depending on the drive, maybe the drive is designed to do this. So check with the vendor and see if they have a firmware update.
Oh yeah.
Also, some drives offer an auxiliary utility that can allow you to set things like when the drive sleeps. So, see if that's it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And lastly, it could be a flaky cable. So, I don't know where you got your USB cable, but try a different USB cable. Sometimes they break, or they get worn out.
Yep.
Or they're just not that great.
C. Yeah. I have. John. I think you're spot on with that last one there. I have this little adapter. I'm holding it up now for the YouTube audience, and it's a USB-C, plugs in, and it gives me my USB and my USB-C, my SD card, even HDMI on the end, that sort of thing.
What's the brand name of the adapter there, Pete?
It looks like Vava, V-A-V-A.
Okay, we'll share it.
Yeah,
it's a little dongle. Yeah.
It's a little dongle. USB-C plugs in, and I had another one that was similar, except instead of a cord off of it, it had two USB prongs that plugged into the side of my MacBook Pro.
Oh yeah, those scare me.
That one was terrible, and I was constantly having drives disconnect that were connected through that, and just a little jiggle on that thing, and it was a bad connection. So I think it's a bad connection or a flaky cable or something. This thing has been rock solid, so I've gone to that.
John, I also think your instinct about it being power is I wouldn't dismiss that as quickly. Yes, he's on a UPS, but like you said, if his power supply for the drive is bad, then it doesn't matter if that power supply has consistent power, right? If the supply is not providing consistent power from there to the drive, doesn't matter that it's on a UPS, right?
Right. And I much prefer devices that use, I'm trying to remember the name, but it's a direct connection. So it plugs into the wall, and then the other end, is it a type A power cord? I don't remember the proper designations, but it's basically a power cord that one end plugs in the wall and the other plugs into the thing, and it's not, as we fondly call them, a wall wart. Those are prone to failure as well.
Well, I mean, it's the same, though. A drive is a drive, and so whether the power supply is internal to the case that also contains the drive or external to the case that contains the drive, you're still going to have it's going to have some sort of something that transforms 120 volt AC down to the 5 volts that a drive requires. So, I mean, honestly, I kind of like the external power supply because if something goes wrong with the power supply, you can replace it. Right?
Whereas if it's a direct connect, I say
if it's a direct connect, the power supply is still there. It's just baked inside and maybe more difficult to replace. So, but yes, cable or just the drive. I also, my first instinct, and it's because I deal with these problems. So, we all see things through our own lenses, but my first instinct was, is this a sleep issue? Like because there's so many issues with Monterey and drives and just devices not coming back the right way when a Mac wakes from sleep that I have turned off sleep on my desktop Macs. I let the display sleep, but I don't let the Mac sleep anymore. And it's kind of a bummer because I pay for electricity, and A, electricity prices are going up here in New Hampshire, and B, because they're in my office, I have to pay commercial rates because we don't have a bathroom in this building. That's what we deal with here in New Hampshire, folks. These weird. Yep. If there was a bathroom here, I could call it residential. So that's fun. Yep. But anyway, that's where we're at. Yeah, good stuff. Where are we at on time?
About an hour 15.
Yeah, I think it's time. It turns out it's time.
It's one of those times.
The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things.
I weep for you.
That's what's the first line of something in sealing wax of cabbages and kings? What's the line I'm missing? The time has come, the walrus said, to speak of many things of
I had
sealing wax of cabbages and kings.
I had some cherry stones the other day.
They're delicious. Cherry stones are delicious. That's one of the benefits of living in New England, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned that cherry stones are actually steamers, just bigger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
It's the
lots
same
of things.
species, because I was like, because a friend of mine was like, "Are you sure those are cherry stones and not steamers?" And I'm like, "Yeah, hold on." And the bag said cherry stone.
Yeah.
So,
of shoes and ships and sealing wax is the line I'm missing. The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things. Of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot and whether pigs have wings.
I don't believe he scarfed all those oysters or whatever they were.
The little guy did. Yeah. Not the walrus, the carpenter.
And the pig got up and slowly walked away. That's a different one.
That's different.
You can tell a man who drinks by the company. Yeah. What is it? You can tell a man who drinks by the company he keeps. And the pig got up and slowly walked away. Something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yes. Similar rhythm to those things. That's right. Yeah. Fun. Well, this is what you get, folks, when we do this on a Monday morning instead of a Friday morning. Evidently. Now I have to go. Like usually on Friday, I publish the show, but if I'm hungry or whatever, I can wait and like go eat lunch and then come back and publish the show. Today, like it's got to get out, so just got to do it.
It's boozes. Sorry, boozes. You can tell a man who boozes by the company he chooses. And the pig got up and slowly walked away.
I like it. All right, folks, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for everything. Make sure to subscribe. Go to MacGeekGab.com. That's the place to do it. Or in your favorite app for podcasts. And we'll see you again next week. Make sure to sign up for our calendar there at MacGeekGab.com/calendar. That'll tell you not only when we're recording these shows live, but also when we're doing our Discord hangouts. Those are going to be fun. I see lots more of those in our future here. It's good to get the community together. And that's what Discord is. We're all there, hanging out. John, might you be able to share some advice with the listening audience that they wouldn't otherwise get?
I don't know. I kind of forget what the advice is, but I think Pete's on the ball here.
Well, if you're on YouTube, you can see my shirt front and center. Folks, it's simple. Don't get caught.
Made up.
And hey, go to MacGeekGab.com/merch to get your own shirt.